having kids.
Yeah.
And
what's her name again?
Rachel Cusk, C-U-S-K, A Life's Work.
Okay, cool.
And it's beautiful, it's very literary. What's amazing about it is I kind of literally wrote a list of the books she references in it,
Oh, yeah.
you know, works of literature, to kind of, because she's obviously somebody who reads voraciously anyway, English is her thing, as it were. So that kind of informed her experience of parenthood and everything. And so it's very beautiful. It's really quite bleak, but there's certain things she articulates that I just had a cry. At the end, there's a bit at the end. She talks about parenting and the idea of the ruler and the ruled, and how she sort of almost wants to break the chain of when you become a parent, saying understanding what your parents feel, and then this idea of kind of passing it down the generations, and how she wanted to sort of change that. And the way she articulated it when I read it, I had to read it straight out to Chris and go, she's articulated how I feel. So there's bits in it that I've sort of experienced as quite kind of oppressively negative, but the overall thing is so beautifully honest and again.
Do you mean mothering oppressively negative, or the book oppressively negative?
The way she talks about mothering in the book,
Right.
being honestly maybe, and there's a sort of melancholy in it, the way she writes, that I kind of found. It was difficult. I really enjoyed reading. I'm glad I read it. I thought it was really good.
Right,
but again,
sort of so much of it is just actually kind of low-level logistics and sort of busyness and kind of decision-making and sort of.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah,
And I'm finding
losing yourself in your and identity and roles as well. And,
Yes.
And there's a bit in it where she says her husband gives up work to look after the children whilst she writes a book about having children. You know, music, kind of thing. And that's what he tells them. He sounded very groovy, like, well, I'm looking after the kids whilst she writes a book about looking after the kids.
Yeah.
People are like,
Well, when I started making my show, I went into this disused church. That's where I started making it. And I was there, like, recording sort of initial thoughts. And I said, and of course, I'm sitting here talking to you about my kids, and meanwhile they're at nursery and someone else is looking after them. You know, so same. Yeah, it's kind of there's a lot of hypocrisy that you just have to kind of get over, isn't there?
and to be able to talk about it, you need to be away from them, because the business of being with them is so consuming.
Yeah.
And you can only articulate it to yourself even when you're away from them.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's what I struggle with, because I just do not get a break. I don't get a break. Because my work, I teach, and it's like, it crams around Ian's 6-day-a-week job.
Oh, wow.
He's private school, so he works Saturday mornings. So where I fit my teaching in, it's like, so I need to work. It's not, I mean, I want to work, but I need to work. We can't afford a mortgage without me working. Right. So I'm like cramming off, and I'll go on with these until sort of 5:30, and then straight out teaching for hours, coming home again, going to doing it all again. And it's just like, during the day I don't get emails done, you don't get anything like that. So I've got admin to do, and I just don't know when that happens. And weekends, say I'll probably get Saturday afternoon off, but then, Ian's the tired one because he's been at work all week, and it's just a bit like, he's not like that, but I just feel, I think I came to a crunch point the other night, because I'm in a class at the same night as yours, so I can't come, which I'm actually quite gutted about.
I'm gutted about it as well, because
you can come to the show the next day. Like,
I'm going to come to we'll come to the Sunday one.
It's billed as a workshop, but I was thinking I would just do the show for kids. So
brilliant!
Yeah.
Oh,
that'd be good though, because
that's what I wanted.
Oh, that's good, because that means then I won't bring Alfred on Saturday night, which means I can come to yours, and then I can get to the second half of yours.
Yeah. So is that? I mean, do you think that's okay though? Because if it's billed as a workshop, I worry that people will be expecting a workshop. But what I'd asked for was a relaxed performance, basically, so that I could bring my kids.
Brilliant.
That's cool.
Should I just do that instead then? Not worry
Oh yeah,
Don't worry about
I'd
it.
be happy with that.
Okay. And well, since you two are here, I'll do that then.
So Morgan and Kate have said it's okay.
Yeah.
We're all right with that. They've got 4 kids between them.
I've had the private order. Yes, well, it's totally interesting. This is, I suppose, one of the things that's really been occurring to me, and it was only quite recently that I kind of said to Rich, and you know, I'm really lucky. Rich is quite flexible working. He's even gone to full time.
What does he do?
Sort of supposed. He works in theatre. He kind of brings together theatre makers and venues to create pieces which might appeal better to audiences in that area. So he's kind of interested in audience expansion and development, but through making really interesting work with really great theatre makers. Yeah.
Is
So
it
it's
freelance?
called Greenhouse. It's like a little network that he runs. He's employed sort of through Farnham Maltons, but then the other rest of the time he's a little bit freelance. But
Cool.
yeah, he's also been moving house, so he's been packing and stuff. But what I was going to say is that only recently feels like it's sort of the time when parents could tip from it being me as the like default child carer, but in a way I also feel like as the kids get older I feel like they almost need me more. You know, there's this sort of accepted thing of like you'll have a year of maternity leave and then you'll go back to work, and it struck me even before I'd given birth that would surely be a weird model, because surely I needed to find something that was kind of sustainable longer term, and therefore some kind of hideously messy and exhausting part-time thing would somehow be better, because at least I'd kind of be around sort of but you don't, but then time for yourself, and that idea of like it's you know, the man that rests, I mean that's fortunately not how it's in my household, but really familiar. Like people saying, oh yeah, my husband normally has a really nice life on Saturdays, he's been at work a week. I think going to work is the easier.
Oh gosh,
It's way easier, because you're just being adult.
Well, yeah,
And
you
that's
sit in a
easy.
chair,
Right.
and you have a coffee,
Yeah.
and you talk.
Yeah.
None
and,
of
you
those
go,
things.
and you go for a wee.
Yeah, you go for
on
a
your own.
wee.
Yeah, on your own. Yeah,
Without Ursula going, oh, hello, mama. Cuddling my leg whilst I'm peeing.
Yeah, well, or trying to wipe your bum. I mean, that's
Yeah,
the
exactly.
thing, isn't it?
Oh, God.
Sylvie, no, please, no.
It's all right.
Yeah, so,
It's,
but there's a kind of, I mean, it seems to me it's good that now you can do the shared parental leave, but I also think how realistic is that for most couples? Because most couples won't be it's both working in institutions where that's supported, will they?
no.
You have to have the perfect situation for that to actually work
Yeah.
out. But I mean, I think it's a move in the right direction. But,
I can't help, I don't know if you agree with me here, Nancy, but I don't know if it's my error here, but I can't help but feel like I'm the one that should be with the kids.
yes.
Do you, I mean, you know what I mean? And I feel like I
It's
feel
weird,
guilty.
isn't it?
And it's like,
Yes.
even like, if I leave Ian, I feel like, oh, is he alright? Is he managing?
Yes.
I need to stop that. But I'm just so like,
But I think that comes from us and from society.
society.
I think it's not just us, but it's also the breastfeeding thing. Of course, even if you don't end up breastfeeding, it sets you up in the kind of default position of primary care.
Yeah.
And also, it comes from the kids, doesn't it? I mean, I don't know what it's like for you guys, but right now, my kids are in a major mummy phase where it's like, go away, daddy, put me down, I want to be with mummy. You know, it's like,
okay. It's alright, he's left it now. I'll get it. I know, mummy will get it in a bit.
small puke on the carpet.
Yeah, he might lick it back up again.
Yeah. Do you guys like have?
Ours have been
experience
very kind of. Chris is very hands-on, and because he's a teacher, he has a lot of time off, and I'm in the final throes of a PhD as well.
Oh my God.
So, a lot of the time, especially at the moment, I need a day at the weekend to work, and so he's just, a whole day. He's teaches at private school as well, like Ian, Kate's husband, and he's binned at the moment. He's absolutely knackered at the moment. I mean, it's ridiculous. And but he admits. I mean, he said to me not long ago. He said, you're doing what you do is the hard bit. He admitted that. He said, I don't know if I would be able to do it. It's the on-offness of my life that's so difficult. And I've changed my childcare arrangements over the last few years so much to try to facilitate being able to work on a PhD. As Kate knows, because she's known me all this time, and I've had them in 2 days a week, because I used to lecture at Leeds College of Music as well, which is a really good job. But I was doing that, then looking after the kids 3 days a week and trying to get my PhD work done 1 day a week as well. And I ended up having to just talk to my boss at Leeds College of Music and say, I need to hand in my notice, because this is the thing I'm doing best, but it's a thing I don't need to be doing. Right. I need to be looking after my kids well and doing the PhD well, because I can't actually muck those two up.
Yeah.
So even though this job is going really well, it makes more sense. And then I didn't need a whole day in the nursery with them, because I need to go to Leeds. I could put them in a local playgroup in a combination of mornings and just 1 day, which is cheaper. But it's
Yeah.
You know, and it's still not perfect, and it's just going to be a big long summer of I have to get my mum over. She's with us at the moment, and I need to say to her, look, is there any way you can come and spend a couple of weeks with us at the end of August so I can put my head down and Chris doesn't have a nervous breakdown before he goes back to work, and Alfred starts school in September, so we need it to be, you know, we can't, exactly, Alf's obviously, he's October, so Stan he must be, what is he, a summer baby?
May,
So they're starting the same year.
So and then so that's an interesting one, I think. The kind of who's the primary carer, that seesaw, and there's clearly kind of historical defaults, societal defaults, emotional defaults. And then I guess the last question, which is interesting to ask, because the lady who set up Mothers Who Make was asking, Mathilde Laser, is basically, do you think that becoming a mum has changed you in like creative ways or in ways of ambition or anything like that? And what would your answer be to that? Let's keep them kind of briefish. So, but
do you want to?
I think I was quite creative before, not hugely, you know, in musical as you all are, but I think ambitions, like my mum asked me, is like whether it's just, do I feel like motherhood has defined me? Like I feel like I'm cool with maternity leave because I know it's not long term. I mean, like I want to looking forward to going back to work, but it's sort of the balance is going to be challenging because I'll be back to work in April. But it's just looking at enjoying this time as much as I can. But also the adventures, like I don't want life to be just like, there we go, house and kids, and you know, I want big adventures as well. So I keep telling Andy, like, you know, how about living abroad? And like, you know, let's do it, and don't want to be defined by the what feels like a little bit average at the moment, but also enjoying the little adventures, like showing Erin the world. But even if it's leaves falling off a tree, it's like you know, small things. Enjoying those little mini adventures.
I think you just touched on the kind of normalising effect of kids. I find that so often, you know, like when we were on a drive to Newcastle and we stopped at Little Chef, and Little Chef was like the perfect thing, and it's never been the perfect thing. You know? And somehow that for me really symbolises kind of like, you know, okay, you know, we've just moved to a 3-bed semi with a garden, you know, it's like we've moved out and we kind of
exactly that area,
and like suddenly all of that very kind of normal living is like actually what you need, and it's kind of you just have to sort of make peace with it, I think, and go, oh well. And also it's quite nice you sitting there going, I want big adventures, and you know, there she is. Like.
Yes. So initially, at the start of maternity leave, it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to go to Brimham Rocks every week. Like, I've never done that before. Like, why would I suddenly do that?
Yeah.
It's, or I want to go travelling with Erin because it'll be easy.
Yeah, but there's ideas, aren't there? There's the kind of, and the ideas and the reality, right? Well, I was like obsessed that when you have a family, you go camping in France. This is like the thing that I thought you did. So literally Stan was 10 weeks old. And I look back and I just think you're mental. But that's sort of really what I'm like.
Cool.
Like, right, 10 weeks, come on, let's go.
We can do it.
We're a family now. You know, but yeah, so anyway, so other answers to the question of how it might have changed.
Because basically my supervisor, Roger Marsh, who has always been I did my undergrad here 20 years ago, and he's been my guru ever since. He knows me very well, and it was in 2007 when I basically started the PhD, so I've been doing it a long time. When he said, you do realise you can have kids whilst you do this, you can take a year off, you can do it, it'd be great. So okay, and my husband was like, yeah, do it whilst you're doing this, because you don't want to get to the end of it when you want to be then getting back into career and stuff like that, and then start the business of having kids, which had been my kind of gut reaction. I thought to myself, well, I will probably be a bit old if I do start then, but I thought I'll get the PhD wrapped up and then try. But I was kind of getting broody in my way of getting broody, which was not kind of all goo gaga broody, which is fine, but very sort of cerebrally thinking out the logistics of it all and thinking about it all the time. And Chris went going, I think that's your version of broody because you think about things a lot. And I was like, oh yeah. So, you know, I had
I've never heard it articulated so well. That's basically how I was really as well. It was like, all right, I'm going to be 40.
Yeah.
Just got to do it.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, thinking it through.
Yeah.
And so, so I took 11, 12 out to have Alfred, and then went back on the PhD for a year in 12, 13, and then took 13, 14 out when I had Ursula. So it's been on, off, on, off, on, off. But the trajectory of the PhD has been utterly informed by the business of having kids, and would not be what it's going to be if I hadn't had them, and is the best it could be because I've had them.
Right.
And it's not going to be perfect, and it might be a bit shabby, the write-up, by the time I hand it in. Flung together. I'll try and make it look as elegant as it can. But in terms of the work I'll be doing and the people I've met and how that has informed what I've written and the resonance it's given that, and my ability to get to what I believe, it's made me learn about myself and what I am quite often uncomfortable about calling myself a musician because I barely touch my instruments, you know. So I compose as a way of articulating my philosophy on the world and the business of living, and as a way to draw people who I respect and love working with together to explore working this stuff out. And that has become crystallised and clear to me because I've had kids.
Yeah.
And so it's been messy, and I think I'm a very organised person and quite a clear, logical thinker, and I acknowledge that the chaos that is the creative process has to happen, and so the rest of my life is organised so that can only happen in the creative sphere. So I'm not wasting time with other things that are actually quite easy to organise that can get in the way of that. So that's quite good, but then children come along and there is just chaos to do with that.
Yes.
And I find it actually harder now than when they were really little, because I find the whole emotional side of dealing with language and how you talk to them and how they talk to each other and how they get along with each other, the business of behaviour and social. I mean, the stuff I've encountered regarding society and the people around me in my everyday life, I feel like I'm heightened in terms of how I pay attention to how people articulate themselves, and spend a lot of my time gobsmacked. A, how other people articulate themselves, and B, the bullshit that comes out of my mouth sometimes. You know, when you're saying something to your child and you go, did I really just say that? Where's that from? And quite a lot of the time it's from your own upbringing, and you're like, oh, that voice has come right out again. And you're like, go back in. But that's all, I've got to the point where that is all completely seamlessly linked into what I want to write and make in theatre. So it's these parts of my lives that were separate beforehand. I just
it's really
all
nice that you
one
just
big
said
thing.
lives.
Yeah, they're all just exactly, you know, this
lives
persona.
become lives,
Because people ask you what you do, and there's these, and I'm like, I'm trying to live. I'm trying to just
It's
live.
nice you were talking about the chaos of creativity and the chaos of kids, and one used to be really sort of open-ended and kind of do it any time of day, and you could just keep thinking about it till midnight if you wanted. And you know, it used to be kind of, I used to hate alarm clocks. I was like, don't wake me up in the morning. I need to wake up actually. You know, I mean, for God's sake. And what's really funny is being on tour. Like the first night I was there, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to come back from tour really refreshed because I get to sleep every night. It's awesome.
That has some little poppet climbing into bed going, Mama, can I cut up with
exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, but it's interesting, isn't it? And then the other is like basically task driven. It's like satisfying needs and policing and behaviour and trying to figure out how, being imaginative, being creative. But it's kind of give, isn't it? And then the other used to be sort of just thinking. You know, it takes me a day to do 3 hours work. You know, it used to be, and so also the compacting of time is a major factor, isn't it? So let's ask you, and then wow, double strikes.
It's cool.
It's kind of
is it doing that effect on the telly, moire effect or whatever it is, isn't it? Where it messes up a television screen,
So what would your answer be to the kind of?
I think that what I've actually really enjoyed about becoming a mother is that sort of carefreeness. It's like just let it flow. You can't control anything, so don't bother. It's just, you know, the day will be, and it's like, and it being in the now. And actually, I kind of feel like I'm so much more relaxed, actually.
Right.
Because I think before I was perfectionist, this has to do that, I have to do this amount of practice. And it used to, like, it was just horrible, and it really stifled me, I think, actually. And I think now I've had the children, I'm less bothered what people think about me. I'm less bothered, like, if people say, right, you need to learn this piece and I've got this amount of days, whatever, it's like, well, it'll happen when it happens. If it's not perfect, it's not perfect. I can't do anything about that.
Yeah.
And I'll do my best still, but it's not like I'm really bothered about it anymore. And I think actually, even my technique, I'm much looser. You know what I mean? I've learned loads, like just about being more like careful. I think that's what it is. And I think that just allows me to sort of be more open to. Yes.
And maybe the kind of the displacement is that, isn't it? It's basically, so long as they're safe and basically happy, then it kind of doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I mean, I've finally managed to practice while they're in the room.
Wow.
I mean, yeah,
That's amazing.
That's amazing.
it's not ideal. But over the weekend, I actually managed to do about an hour and a half each day.
Wow.
And I am like, rock on. And these two are just mooching around my feet.
Yeah, that's
like,
great.
You know, and you learn how to sort of like have two heads on. It's like, right, counting, but I can hear that he's over there. Just, he's all right, I'll keep counting. Okay, he's all right. You know what I mean? It's like, and I think you just learn to be super. Because you end up with all these like different skills going on at the same time. It is, and it's what you said when we were on about baby brain. How
I want to talk about that actually. I wanted to talk to you. Yeah,
everyone
absolutely.
says, oh, you know, baby brain, she's not with it.
Oh,
It's
don't
like,
get me started.
actually, my senses are so heightened that I'm actually focusing on this tiny sound that's over there, which is my child playing or whatever. And it's like, I'm not with you because you're not important right now. It's like what they're doing over there is. Do you know what I mean? I think that is what baby brain is. You just
Yeah.
I think that's linked to the whole like society doesn't value vaginas, and it also doesn't value what happens hormonally to women when they have kids, and it's about knowledge. Everything is about how much you know about stuff, and I'm not that kind of person. Kate will testify that I don't actually know many composers and remember pieces, names, and things like that. The factual knowledge, I'm like. But when that's when you have kids and everything recedes and you've got this intuitive kind of sub-thought, body, gut feeling relationship where you just know what's going on. I once caught Ursula coming down a slide. She was coming down a slide. She wasn't very old. She was under 2. She's a little daredevil. She came down this slide and she was wearing these little shoes that have got a rubber sole. And she got on the top and she came down. She was absolutely fine. And then the sole stuck and she went like that. And it's a metal slide and she was going to smash her head on it. And I was sort of at the bottom and I just caught her. And it was one of those moments where Chris went, whoa, that was awesome. And I was like, it was like a superhero moment. And it was completely just one of those, I just could see what was going to happen in that moment. And we've all had that because you kind of...
Slides are terrifying.
But nobody ever talks about this happening to women. Women don't talk to it. And it's this incredible superpower, this amazing kind of ability. And because it...
Well, the hormones.
And I've seen that a few times. Basically, it's like the dive, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes.
I've seen it a few times. The other day we were in our kitchen, and the sort of the fullest width of it, and a little baby had basically managed to get themselves on a little chair and was just about to totally stack it off. And Mum went from that side of the room to the other, like in about like
half a second.
Just
you do, don't you?
Yeah.
And you can feel it with other people's kids as well when you're in a group. You can it's this peripheral kind of amazing sense.
Yeah.
And it's not valued. And
I think it's off, and I think go with it, you know. Like, it's like the hormone, when you, in the early days when you're breastfeeding all night, that hormone that means that you don't mind if you don't sleep. You just cope, don't you? With no sleep. It's so much better. Once I stopped breastfeeding, I was like, because that hormone goes, I think, when you stop breastfeeding.
It really does,
And it just hit me like, and he was like, welcome to my world. I was like, do you know what? That your job is out of there. Just don't. But he's like, I didn't have that hormone. So you also got healing from, birth and the rest of it.
Exactly. Well, and keeping them alive by breastfeeding. So I think we'll wrap it up there.
Brilliant.
But that's been absolutely amazing.
It's been great fun.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Just come up once a month, Sarah.
We could do a Skype once a month. That's awesome. No, I'd love to. I want to carry the project on. And thank you very much. For sharing your time and
pleasure.
It feels quite novel to be able to just talk.
Absolutely.
Quite, in a way, selfishly. Just like, it's nice.
Bit refreshing.
But it's interesting because, philosophers have always done this. It's the business of living and talking about life and how we do it. And that is kind of an academic thing that is just a huge, huge history of happening in the sort of male world, I think, as well, really, let's face it. And yet we feel kind of like, oh, this is, a bit illicit and
But I think also
self-indulgent.
what was striking me when you were talking about your PhD and about knowledge and about it not being kind of numbers and stats and it being this kind of bodily intuitive thing. I mean, frankly, I think research is most interesting when it's, intuitive and kind of, not necessarily bodily, because of course different subjects need different things, but,
reflexive, is that the word?
so often, and so often, PhD students sort of start off and they're like, yes, and I need to refer to Deleuze and I need to refer to this thing and that thing, and it's like, no, forget that. That's just, you have a bit of that if you want to show off, but actually, what's important is what are you experiencing? What's the authentic,
that's exactly
story?
it. I think that's where I've come to recently, mainly because I know I haven't got the time to do all the reading I would like to do.
Yeah.
But I'm
and
like, well,
actually
actually,
just erase the kind of all the like, oh yeah, in theory all of that would happen, but what's the main thing?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thanks, children.
Yeah.
It's been really